Well, let's talk more about those developments now with my guest, Arise News Middle East expert, Dr Saul Zadka. For months, we've seen reports barrel bombs are being used. For months, President Assad has denied that that's the case. This video now, is that irrefutable evidence and proof that barrel bombs are being used in this conflict?
Oh, yes. A helicopter crash, a military helicopter that crashed not so far from Idlib on Tuesday, from which a mobile phone that belonged to one of the pilots has been recovered. And the footage was found on this mobile phone, showing clearly that barrel bombs became part and parcel of the Syrian army tactic. So Assad, we all knew, was lying all the time about the existence of the barrel bombs. He said all the time, we use only conventional weapons, and this is the proof that he would not be able to refute.
And the idea is that they fly over cities which are held by rebel forces or held by forces that aren't government forces, and they indiscriminately push them out of the planes and just try and cause chaos.
Yeah. And they were very effective in Aleppo, in Homs, where thousands and thousands of civilians were killed by the barrel bomb. This was really the nightmare of so many Syrians. They did not fear anything else, but the barrel bomb was so devastating because it's crude and because of its indiscriminate manner.
Yeah, and they obviously hit hospitals, they hit schools. There's no real way of directing them specifically onto a specific target, is there?
Yes, a very primitive weapon, which also says that the rebels with precise bombing, but also indiscriminately in order to sow and inflict fear and terror in the heart of so many people who are suspected of supporting the rebels or deterring them of joining into the rebels.
Let's move on now and talk about Palmyra. The site obviously dates back to the 1st and 2nd century and is considered one of the most important cultural centres of the ancient world. Now it's pretty much under the control of IS. What do you think, given their history, they will do to that site?
Well, we talk all the time about the archaeological importance of Palmyra, Tadmor in Arabic, and we forgot the fact that there are about 200,000 people living nearby in the modern town of Palmyra. Many of them fled already. About 150,000 stayed behind. Not everybody could really flee. Some of them came from other parts of Syria as refugees, and they thought they may be able to find refuge in Palmyra. And if you add to that the fact that the other jihadi group, Jabhat al-Nusra, that is affiliated to Al-Qaeda, together with two more groups, Ahrar al-Sham and another one called Jund al-Aqsa, that means that, in fact, about 40% of Syrian territory is under the control of the regime. And I think that it's very significant, given the fact that the jihadists now are well positioned to advance towards Damascus, which is about 220 kilometers away from Palmyra. And Palmyra controls the crossroads of the highways that also take you all the way to the Iraqi border. So towards the capital.
Yeah, strategically very important. Well, Lebanon's Hezbollah deputy leader has spoken a little earlier, and he gave a pretty bleak assessment about what's happening in the Middle East, saying that it's risking being divided even further. And he said also that he could see no end to that war in Syria. Let's hear what he had to say earlier.
The biggest danger in the plan to partition the region is for Iraq, because America is promoting this, and it seems there are some elements in Iraq that want this, but it has not matured yet. Solutions for Syria are suspended. There's no political solution in the foreseeable future, and it's left to attrition and the battlefield and the wait for other developments in the region, particularly in Iraq. What's happening in Syria now is attack and retreat in battle which does not change the equation, either geographically or politically. The region is today on fire, tense, without any proposed solutions. It seems this will continue for a number of years.
Is that assessment something you'd agree with?
Well, it's a bleak assessment from somebody who would not have said that 2 weeks ago, because last month Hezbollah were quite elated about the prospect of winning the war. Don't forget, Hezbollah is supporting the regime with the help of Iran, of course, and they are looking with wary eyes at what is happening also in neighboring Iraq. But the feeling was, until recently, that the regime is making gains, that somehow the rebels are being pushed back, that there is a disarray among the jihadists. And everything has changed in the last 2 weeks or so with the takeover of Idlib province by Tahrir, the Hizb al-Tahrir, or you may call Jabhat al-Nusra, and also with what was happening recently in Palmyra. And one can ask himself, is the Islamic State organization so effective? Are they so good militarily? We know that they are very vicious. We know that they are very ruthless. But I think we have to put it down to the weakness of the opponent, of the armies in both countries, in Iraq as well as in Syria. They did not put any fight yesterday in Palmyra. The entire fighting lasted maybe about 4 hours or so. And again, as it happened in Iraq, in Ramadi, and a year ago in Mosul, they were outnumbered. The ISIS people were outnumbered. Yes, of course, they had a determination. They used plenty of suicide bombers. They used also armored bulldozers, as it happened in Ramadi, the capital of Anbar province. But I put it down to the incompetence of the military and lack of will to fight, and not necessarily to the military genius of the Islamic State organization.
Yeah, it's almost winning the hearts and minds of their own forces to really want to.
And the more they make gains, the more they win, they would be able to get more and more recruits from the territories that they conquered.
Yeah, Dr. Saul Zadka, all very interesting stuff. Thank you very much.